What's going on, Ventric here? Today I'm going to talk with you about authenticating vintage magic cards. Now, a lot of these techniques I'm going to show you will work with modern cards, but today we're just going to focus on the vintage cards. The first thing I like to do is compare like for like. So what I have in front of you here, I have Beta, Unlimited, Arabian Nights, and Antiquities. Now, for the cards, the one on the left, we'll consider that the card you've just received, the card you want to authenticate. The middle, those are our control cards. So as I said, you like to compare like for like. So I like to have another card from that set. Aren't always going to have the same card that you're getting, but you can get something similar. So in this case, the Ankh of Mizra is our target here. I have a Glasses of Urza, a much less expensive beta card. You don't have to be in the same color or the same like artifact or land. I like to try if I can, but if you can't, you can still get away with using a script sprites or something, a beta script sprites instead of the Sunglasses of Urza or the Glass of Urza. A Twiddle is a cheap unlimited card. Desert is a cheap Arabian Nights card. Mizra's Factory is a little bit more expensive, but that's the land that I had. Again, I like to compare it as close as possible if you don't have the exact card. And then what I have here in the third row, these are known counterfeits. In the case of the betas, I didn't have a counterfeit Ankh of Mizra. I just have the one someone had given me years ago. So I have a Black Lotus there, and then I have the Ancestral, the Library, and the Workshop. So let's get started. What do we want to look at first? First thing you want to look at, you just look at like texture. You can feel the cards, look at the backs, see if you can see anything. Like this card here, it's glossier, it's not as coarse. The light hits it differently. I don't know if you can pick that up here. There you go. The light hits it differently. That is the counterfeit. So the first thing is just the eye test. Even looking at the front, the colors are a little bit off, but that's the eye test. So the eye, the feel test. That's your first test you're going to do. The next one we're going to do, we're going to get under the microscope here, and let's have a look at our control card here, our Glasses of Urza. We're going to look at our green dot first. Let me turn on our trusty microscope here. And so we want to look around the green dot. You can see the pattern, the rosette pattern. The black dots are in kind of a triangle around it. Your circle on the green dot is solid black. It has a flat bottom, a flat side. You can see the red L. And then if you look at the yellow dots as well, they start and they kind of go up on an angle. So they go up and to the right, and look at the spacing. There's about equal distance between them. The size of the dots is about equal distance. So it's like yellow dot and amount of green about equidistant. And if you count them, you typically get about 3 dots between the black crescent and the white. So that is our control, what we want to look for on the back of the card. So now we're going to take our Ankh of Mizra here. We're going to throw that under, and we're going to have a look. And it looks very much the same. We've got the same density in the yellow dots. We've got the black circle. We've got the black rosette pattern outside the circle. And then we've got the red L. So that looks good on the back of the card. And now we're going to go to our, put over here, the Black Lotus counterfeit, just to compare. So what you're looking at here is, if we look around the circle, the rosette pattern is totally different. The black ring around the circle is fuzzy. It's not solid. The yellow dots are a lot dense. They're smaller. They're closer together. There's more of them. And then if you look at where the red L is, it's just a jumble of like red dots and some blue dots. So definitely looks totally different. And so we looked at the back of the cards. So we think our Ankh is good. So let's take a look at the front card. We're going to look at the casting cost. We're going to look at the casting cost on this Glass of Urza, first thing. And we're going to look, it's like the one is solid. Around it, there's white space with a pattern of black dots. And that same triangle pattern we saw on the back of the card. We're going to look at our Ankh of Mizra now. Again, the same thing. Black dots in that it's not a triangle, it's like more like a diamond pattern, sorry, and solid casting costs. Now we look at this fake Black Lotus, and as you can see, the casting cost is not as crisp, and we don't have black dots. We have a mix of black, yellow, red, blue all over the place, so it fails. Another thing I kind of mentioned when you're doing the eye test is these the counterfeiters, they're like redesigning the card in Photoshop, and they can make mistakes. So in the case of this Black Lotus, if you look at it, it does not say artifact. It says mono artifact. So they've made a mistake right there, and that'll show you right away that in the case of this, mono artifact. So we've shown, as far as we're concerned, the last thing I would do, actually, let me get it back up here, open up the microscope for you, is I like to also just look at the artist's name, and the copyright symbol. You can kind of see you've got the black, solid black outline. You've kind of got it shadowed by white with the black and some color in there. And then in the name, it's mainly you mainly just see the black dots in the name. So when we look at our Ankh Mizra, we've got the same thing. Mainly see the black dots in the name. The copyright is shadowed by the white with the mix of colors in there. And then we look at this Black Lotus, and the shadowing isn't really there. Like the black is not solid in the copyright. In the name, you've got like a jumble of all different colors. So we can authenticate that this Ankh Mizra, based off of our control, the Glass de Verza, is legit. And we'll move on now to our Ancestral Recall. So we're going to start with the twiddle here. We're just going to go over the back quick because we've already gone over this. Looks like what we want to see on the twiddle on the back. So we'll go to our Ancestral Recall. Back looks like what we want to see. We'll look at our fake Ancestral Recall. And again, it doesn't look anything like what we're looking for. So now we go to the front of the card. So on the front of the card here, on our twiddle, let's take a look at the mana symbols. This is why I want to use the same color on the same type of card. So we look at the mana symbol here on this unlimited twiddle, and you can see like the raindrop, the black is solid, the circle around it is a white background with blue dots going up in the pattern up and to the right. We're going to look at our Ancestral Recall. We're trying to authenticate here. We have the solid black with a little white sliver in it, white background, blue dots going down and to the right. And now we look at our counterfeit, and you can see the casting cost is not solid black, the sliver of white is not there, and we've got a mix of multicolors going up and to the right, and it's a mix of multicolors, it's not just the blue dots. So we'll go to back to our twiddle. We'll just look at it again at our artist name here. Again, we've got the white shadowing the solid black, black dots in the text on the twiddle, white shadowing the solid black, black dots in the text on the Ancestral Recall that we're authenticating. And then here, again, the black is not solid. There's multicolor in the text. So again, we've now authenticated this Ancestral Recall against our twiddle that is a known good card. Moving on, we're going to go to our Arabian Nights cards here. So we've got our desert. Again, quick look at the back. Green dot looks how we want it. Like I said, the green dot doesn't change. Like from all the sets, the green dot is pretty much, there are a few sets where there's anomalies. Alternate Fourth, Urza's Legacy had some issues with the green dot. There's a few outliers out there, but for the most part, they're all going to be the same. Another thing I didn't mention was when you're looking at the cards, older cards that were played with, they have a patina, they have a wear pattern. And like You cannot fake this wear. Like this card, I played with this card on tables with no sleeves, no playmats back in 1994. And it has a certain wear to it, and you can't fake that wear. You can't fake that aging. So that's another thing to look at. If a card looks too good, looks too clean, it may just be. So we've looked at our green dots there, and then again, we'll go back to our fake library here, and we see the same thing, this garbage green dot. So on the front of the cards, what do I want to look at? In the case of a land here, we don't have a casting cost to look at. And we're getting to Arabian Nights now, so we're going to focus in, start with the desert. We're going to focus in on the set symbol, because now we've got set symbols. So if we look at the sword here, we've got a solid black outline. We've got black dots inside the sword. And you can look where around the loop and the handle, this is where we've got the rosette pattern kind of coming through. But inside the sword, we've only got the black dots. We go to our library here and we see the same thing. Black dots inside the sword with a solid black outline. We've got the little openings in our loop handles. And then we go to our counterfeit here. And it is a solid black line, but if you look, it's not the black dots inside. It's just the rosette pattern continues on. And our handle just doesn't quite look right. Let's come back to this handle. And then look at this handle. See how it's solid black all the way down, like where it does this. Sorry, get up here. Where it does this, it's all solid black. Where it's on the real thing, there is the little white space where it does that little elbow. So the set symbol is off. In this case, the library and the desert are the same. And then again, we can have a quick look on the desert at our artist name. And in this case, we can see the rosette pattern. In this case, like in the Beta and the Unlimited, it was just the black dots. But in this case, the rosette pattern actually carries on through the letters. There is a slight shadow. We do have the solid black with the white shadowing. Again, rosette pattern carries on through the lettering in the name. Solid black with the white shadowing. And then we take a look at this one. So this one, does actually look a little bit better. It looks a little cleaner. Which is where, this is why you look at the whole card. Let's just compare them here. Shadowing on the M. Oops. Shadowing seems a little bit thinner on the counterfeit. And the black on the C. Yeah, definitely the shadowing is thinner. Not as pronounced. So there you have it. That's our Arabian Nights. And we're going to move on to our Antiquities here. Got our Measures Factory. Again, let's do the quick little green dot test. Looks like what we want to see. Look at our Measures Factory, or Measures Workshop, sorry. Again, another card that I played with on tables with no sleeves. It looks like what we want to see. We look at our counterfeit. And again, it's the jumbled, blurry mess. And now the front of the card, again, now because, again, we're using lands, we don't have a casting cost here, but we do have a set symbol. And when we look at the set symbol here, if we look at the anvil, solid black. It's got the two little, like, holes on the bottom. And then on the tip, where it does this, you can see there's a thin outline, like a thin see-through outline where you can see through to the rosette pattern. And we'll look at our Measures Workshop. We're trying to authenticate here. Same thing. We've got the two dots on the bottom, and then we've got that thin outline around the front of the anvil. Where we go to our counterfeit here, and we go to that set symbol. It does have the two dots at the bottom, but if you look, the tip of the anvil is solid. It doesn't have that white spacing. So again, here we are. the set symbol doesn't match up on the counterfeit. And then if we look at our artist line here, again, we've got the black shadowing, thick black shadowing. And again, as we had with the Arabian Nights, the pattern continues through the name, but it's kind of a thick shadowing. And then we go to our fake here. And again, the pattern continues through, but the black is not nearly as solid, nearly as thick. One thing I didn't go through with any of these cards is if you look at the text and the text boxes, these counterfeits here aren't that bad. They actually are black printed on top, but you can kind of see it's blurry. Like around the edges, it's blurry. You can't see the dots through it, but it's blurry. Whereas here, we're crisp. So that's the other thing to look at, is just the text and the text boxes. Again, we can go back here and look at our Ankh. Clear text. Here, it is printed on top, but it's blurry around the edges. And you'll see that across all of these. So we look at our glasses, solid. So we've gone through all of the tests with the microscope now. And we pretty much have a good feel that which cards are authentic and which cards are fake. I'm going to turn out the microscope now, and I'm just going to go through the final tests that I do. Try to get these all organized again for you. And those are going to be, we have a light test. So I got a lot of bright lights here, but this light is pretty bright. So we're going to see. When we look at this card, you can see the light shines through it. There's a little bit of a blue tinge, and it's smooth. And then we're going to look at our glass de Verza here, and we see the same like light coming through as we saw on the Ankh. But then we go to our Black Lotus. Now, for the most part, Magic cards, all the vintage cards have blue cores. Some of the newer sets, there are some with black cores, there are some with purple cores, but this is a black core counterfeit, and look, you do not see any light at all really coming through that card. It masks it all. So that fails the light test. These two pass the same amount of light. And we look at the Ancestral, same thing, nice, smooth, coming through. The Twiddle, nice and smooth, light coming through. And the Ancestral Recall, again, no light coming through. I'm not going to worry about doing it with the Antiquities and the Arabians because the tests are going to do the same thing. The next test we're going to do is weight. For the most part, on average, a Magic card should weigh between like 1.7 and 1.8 grams. So we're going to weigh our Ankh of Mizra here, 1.71. Our sunglasses, our glasses of Urza, our control card, whoops, 1.71. So they weigh the exact same. Take our counterfeit Black Lotus, 1.60. So it's 0.1 grams light. Same thing here with our Ancestral Recall, 1.71. Our Twiddle, our control, 1.73. Our fake recall, 1.63. Again, it's 0.7 light. Our desert, 1.72. Our library, 1.78. Our counterfeit library, 1.63. Again, light. Then we get to our workshop, 1.73. Our control factory, 1.74. And then our fake workshop. Now with counterfeits, you're going to see them either, it's 1.63, it's light. You're either going to see them light or heavy for the most part. I think there are some that are coming in at about the right weight. But again, we're doing the tests as a whole. We don't, no one test is what you look at. You want to look at all the tests as a whole and then use all that information in order to come up with your conclusion. So as we've seen, all the counterfeits, all of our legit cards and the cards we're testing come up within that range of 1.7 to 1.8. And then all the counterfeits were in the low 1.6s. Now, you can get a little lower if your card has some serious damage. If it's missing a corner of the card or something, then it's going to come in a little lower. Maybe if the card was water damaged or something, it could come in a little bit higher. But for the most part, you're going to be in that 1.7 to 1.8 range. When I did the light test, there is one thing I couldn't show you. I did show you how when the light goes through on a legit card, it is, how I mentioned, it's smooth. So you can see, whoops. You can see it has like a bit of a grain to it, but it's smooth. Like, now, when you get to betas and alphas, there's a risk of what's known as a reback. And that's where somebody has taken a collector's edition card and they have basically sanded off the back of the collector's edition card so that they just have the front. So they have the front of a collector's edition Mox Pearl. And then they take another card. It could be from the same set. So they could take like an alpha or a beta common, or they could even take another older magic card, and then they're going to sand off the front of that card. So they're going to sand off the front of the common. They're going to sand off the back of the collector's edition card, and then they're going to take that collector's edition card and they're going to glue it to the back. So you're going to get about the same thickness. In some cases, they've been able to get the same weight, but you might notice it's not going to have the same bend to it. And also, when you do the light test, there's going to be blotches because the inner core of these magic cards is like a graphite core that's put on by a machine. It's put on uniform, which is why you kind of see that uniform kind of sandy beach kind of pattern. Whereas when someone else is trying to glue something down, they're not going to get the same consistency across the card. They're not going to get the same pressure across the card. So you're going to see some disparities when you put it through a light. You're going to see blotches. So I don't have one. I've never owned one. I've never felt or seen one. I've just read about them and heard about them. But definitely rebacks are a thing for alpha and beta, not really for anything else. And something to watch out for that I can't show you here, but something to watch out for. And then the last test I'm going to show you here before we're done for the day is I'm going to show you a black light test. Now, older cards, the paper, so like the paper, we're going to go with our beta and our unlimited here. So the paper on these cards is 27 years old now. Well, 29 years old in the case of alpha. So beta, 28, 29 years old. And over the course of time, the paper changes, the chemicals in the paper change. And so what happens is they luminesce different under black light. Whether it's chemicals in the paper, chemicals in the ink. So what I've done, I put the legit ones to either side, and I've put the counterfeit in the middle. Now I'm just going to have to go. I'm going to cut the video here, and I'll be back because I got to turn off all the lights. Okay, I'm back. Probably can't see me too well. Oh, this is darkness. I'm going to turn on my black light here. Yeah, there you go. You can definitely see the difference between the one in the middle and the one on the left and the one on the right. All right, so let me get the lights turned back on here. I will be right back. All right, so we're back in the light. I think I've gone through all the tests that I do to authenticate cards. There are a number of tests, other tests out there. I don't have the tools to do. Some people will have, I forget the name of it, but it tests thickness of the card, or someone else who tests the tensile bend strength of the card. So there's any number of tests. One thing I'll tell you, I'm going to make another video on this, is don't do the bend test. This is old cardboard. It will fail eventually. So you don't want to do the bend test, and obviously don't do the rip test, because if you're wrong, you've just destroyed a card, and if it's somebody else's card, even if it was counterfeit, you've destroyed their property. You're not gonna get a refund if you've destroyed the card. All right, so that's everything I go through. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, throw a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you next time.